I was born in Wolfenbüttel, Germany in 1929. I came from a very happy, traditional Jewish home, had 6 wonderful, content, and healthy years as a child there. Wolfenbüttel would be known as a small city. It was a very cultural city. I imagine that they were not more than maybe 25 families, Jewish families. At the age of 6, I was turned down for my first year of school, which was a great disappointment to me. And the reason that the German government gave us was that I was underweight. It would be 1936 that this happened. Anti-Semitism had already started. My eyes were really opened when I went to school, and that was my first encounter with other children than the small-knit Jewish community. That first year, when I first finally did go to school, I was constantly reprimanded for little things and made an example of by the teacher, and then of course the children would mimic and make fun of me at the same time. My father had a shoe store, and customers were forbidden to come in to the store, and the only way you could get his customers if they came in the back way. His greatest competitor was an SS leader in Wolfenbüttel, and his store was right across the street from my father's. He constantly took pictures of anybody entering our store so that it could be posted then on the town bulletin board that some so-and-so dared to go into had the nerve to go to a Jewish store. This SS leader got the German youth, the Nazi youth, in their uniforms. They were all outside the store, and they threw a stink bomb into the store. My father picked it up in rage and threw it back. That night, he left the city. When my father left that night, it left my mother and my sister and myself to pack and leave ourselves. Every night, just about every night, the Nazis would come and interrogate us to where my father was, what we're going to take. And one night, they asked, well, how many cameras are you taking? And my mother said, just this one. And my sister popped up and said, but Mother, we have 2 cameras. And that was a disaster. At that point, the Nazi leader said, children always tell the truth. And the interrogation went on and on. Luckily, they ransacked the whole place looking for the second camera. They did not find it. They had to get out, and they had to get out then, even though a lot of people did not leave. My father tried to talk to several Jewish people in Wolfenbüttel itself to say, get out, do what you can, to get out as fast as you can. And everybody still felt that, oh, this can't happen to us. So it's just temporarily. It's going to pass. We were fortunate in having an affidavit sent to us from an uncle of my mother's. And so we had a way to leave the country. We left August 31st, 1938, and it was the last ship that would allow your personal belongings to go along with you. We had to go through a physical examination before leaving the country. And I felt it was another way of trying to keep us from leaving the country. I do remember as a 9-year-old going from cubicle to cubicle, from one doctor to another for physical examination. Just 2 days before we were to board ship, the head doctor told my parents that all were well except that I had a curvature of spine and would not be allowed to leave the country. My father was fortunate to have enough money that he could pay them all off, and that was the only way that you could leave if you had enough money. We were able to leave and got on board ship, which was the SS Theodore Roosevelt, which was used just one more time after we came to the States by the armed service. Once we boarded an American ship, we already felt a great relief. And I remember the greatest thrill was seeing the Statue of Liberty. And even after all these years, tears come to my eyes. September the 10th is when we arrived. The German government only allowed you $50 per person. So when we left Germany, we had $200. My father had $200 in his pocket. But he was glad that we got out. He didn't care about what was left behind, and we were ready to start a new life when we come to America. The uncle that sent the affidavit, the uncle of my mother's, met us in New York, and he took us to his home. And we had our first American meal there, which was a great embarrassment to my father. They served corn on the cob. And in Germany, the only thing you do with corn is to feed it to the pigs, the hogs, and the geese. And he was insulted because he felt we're not that undernourished that they have to stuff us with corn. My father worked in a bakery, mopping up the floors. So many refugees came over at the same time that it was very difficult to find a job, and you took anything in order to survive. Married in New York, I met my husband in Washington Heights. Like most German Jewish people lived there, and we met up there, but we moved immediately to Nashville because he was traveling in this area. It's a very interesting situation, the fact that my husband was in the American Army after he came over, and you automatically became an American citizen once you were inducted into the Army. He was with the American Intelligence Unit, and they chose a lot of German refugees for this because they could listen in on the radios to the German government and interpret. And that's what he did. The German government will let you come over and visit and pay for your visit, your transportation, and your stay, and will wine and dine you. If you're a refugee from a particular town or something, the town will go all out to do it. I have absolutely no desire to ever go back to do that. Even though we went back on business, it was my husband sold ribbons all over Europe for 7 years, including Germany, and we felt very uncomfortable every time we were in Germany. And every time I looked at a person that was the age of my parents, I saw him in a uniform. I would visualize him in a Nazi uniform. And each time I would see somebody in the age of in that particular age group, I wonder where were they? And what did they do against the Jewish people?